Hey, Pat McCardle here with Polaris for another great episode of Shop Talk. Today, all about this awesome Trail S, probably one of my favorite machines for where I live here in the Midwest. Let's jump into it, take you through why this thing is just so awesome. So, starting out, how big is this thing? Well, 60 inches wide on the width, wheelbase 79 inches, so it's quite a bit shorter than most of the models that you're maybe used to if you've been riding an XP1000 Turbo S or even one of the new Pro Rs. So when you think about this narrow 60-inch wide stance, when you come up to the front of this vehicle, you can actually see that it's like 5 feet wide, right? So the beauty is most trails are a little bit wider than that. So as you're going, you can really get this tire to move around, and say you got an obstacle that's here. If you had a wider machine, you might have to go up and over that obstacle, whereas on this Trail S, you can actually steer around it while staying on the trail and not going outside the lines. When you think about the power plant on this rig, let's come around to the back. We'll talk about that a little bit. So this has actually got our twin-cylinder 1000 naturally aspirated engine in it. And some of the people ask us, like, how much power does this make? Well, this is a 100 horsepower power plant right here. Big differences over this and the XP1000 is that you got a single bore throttle body right here versus the duals on the XP1000. And the cam grind is a little bit different, and there's a little bit difference in one of the temp sensors. But overall, same basic engine as the XP1000. When you look down here at the side in the clutch area, you can see that we've actually got this high flow air ducting coming in on the driven, and we've got the normal inlet on the drive down coming in as well. So this basically runs the same clutches and belt as its bigger brother, the XP1000, but you've got a much lighter weight vehicle here at about 1,360 pounds. So when you think about that 100 horsepower lightweight vehicle, power to weight on the Trail S is phenomenal. This is one of the machines that when you jump in, stomp on that skiddy pedal, it's gonna throw you back in the seat and put a big old grin on your face. The other nice thing about this short wheelbase and narrow stance, it's really built off of the 50-inch model. So when you think back of the history of RZR, we originally came out with the original RZR 800, which was a Ranger RZR back in the day. We built RZR into its own brand, and over time we actually upgraded that model and migrated it to a 900. Well, we also heard from enough people that they wanted more ground clearance, more travel, so we put this long travel kit on and created the old RZR S 800, which became the RZR S 900, and then that migrated into the Trail S as we know it today. So there's been a ton of iteration on this machine over the years. We've also done a great job with the guys and gals that engineer this on taking all of the lessons learned over the last decade and a half and bringing it into the quality of this unit. So when you think about some of the surveys we do with customers, people that have bought this machine, they come back and tell us, like, these things are, quite bulletproof. They last really long. I don't have many quality issues with them. And overall, I'm really happy with the performance of the vehicle. So when you think about longevity of a Trail S, these things are quite fantastic in that regard. Bouncing back to like some of the size-wise things, when you think about just how easy this thing is to drive, the beauty of that narrow stance and short wheelbase is that you have the ability to pick your line going through the trail. So when you think about some of the wider machines we've talked about in previous episodes, where maybe you come up and there's an obstacle that you have to go up and over, on these narrower vehicles, you can actually dance around them a little bit as long as you stay on the marked trail and you aren't going off. So we get a great turning radius on this. We've done some upgrades we'll talk about in another episode on the cockpit and interior. But we've got a nice 2-turn rack so you can keep your hands on the wheel. You don't have to do a lot of hand over hand here. And when we get to the front end, these units do have power steering, so not a lot of fatigue throughout the day. It's going to keep you nice and comfy. And when you think about the all-wheel drive system, this has got the legendary Polaris on-demand all-wheel drive. So pretty simply, reach into the center of the dash, flip this switch up, and your all-wheel drive is going to be engaged. When you look down on how that actually works, the front drive is mounted here in the center of the front of the vehicle. So anytime the rear wheels are spinning, the prop shaft that runs up to the front is going to be spinning up to the front end. You'll see there's these 2 wires going into the front drive. When it's engaged, effectively you're going to provide an electromagnet on the inside that's going to cause a little bit of drag on a roller plate. And then as the rear wheels start to slip, you're going to auto sense that on the front end, and it's basically going to roll a cage forward and engage both output hubs. That's going to automatically engage both front tires for you. So the beauty of that is when you're in all-wheel drive going down like hard-packed trail where you don't need the front end hooked up and you've got great traction, you're going to get the easy steering effort of a 2-wheel drive machine. But the instant your rear tires start to slip, the front end will engage up for you, and then you'll get all 4 wheels pulling you through that next obstacle. So it's a really easy to use system. It's far superior to what some of the competitive models have, where maybe they only engage one of the two front wheels, or you got to get one spinning for a while before it powers over and gets the other side engaged up. So really nice for slow speed technical work, but also good if you're going high speed, you know, like pulling the front end around a corner. Makes it really confidence inspiring on the Trail S. One that you might not be able to easily see, but it's a really big deal, is down here on these control arms, there's actually a full set of sealed bushings now. So you'll notice that there's no grease zerk on any of these arms. It's because we don't need it. There's actually an O-ring on each of those pivot bushings that keeps dirt and debris from going in, that wore out those bushings on some of the models from 10 years ago. Well, this Trail S now has completely sealed suspension in those areas, so you don't really have to worry about it wearing out like maybe some of the older models did. When we get out to the end on the corner of the vehicle, we've actually got these new Trailmaster AT tires. So we've actually upgraded these to get a more durable, higher ply count. They're actually more resistant to puncture and they wear less. So they actually last longer than the previous gen tire that we used as well. When you think about strength-wise, we took a lot of the lessons learned of the XP1000. So if you go back in the development history of the precursor to the Trail S, back to the RZR 900 and RZR S 900, we actually started development on those, flip-flopped, switched, launched the XP1000, and then came back and took all the lessons learned from a strength and durability perspective and put it into the RZR S and now Trail S models as well. So when you think about that, we were able to take a lot of the durability, a lot of the loading on the vehicle, which is why these things share a lot of the componentry with the XP1000s. As we go down, when you think about driveline, pretty simple, standard, real RZR setup here. We've got an east-west crankshaft on the engine. We got our clutches mounted right in the back that we showed you earlier. Same basic setup as the XP1000. We've got that integrated transmission rear drive, flowing power up to the front. We've got super durable half shafts, great brakes. Like overall, when you jump in one of these things and go ripping down the trail, it is gonna put a smile on your face and you're just gonna giggle the whole time because these Trail S's are a lot of fun. So we took you through some of the high-level things that make the Trail S one of my favorite machines to ride of all time. Still great as it was 5 years ago. On the previous generation model, we talked through some of the upgrades. In the next episode, we're gonna be getting a little deeper into what some of the other changes that that we made on the style, comfort, ergonomics, and technology side of this model as well. So, just want to wrap another episode of Shop Talk. Make sure you click to like and subscribe. Leave us some comments on what you want to see next, and we'll see you next time.